let us have the example on the how to identify the lease. Example 1 says, is it a lease? So let's read the example. A customer A has entered into 10 years contract with a company B, under which a company B supplies the customer A with 12 minibuses for the purpose of staff transport. The company B owns the relevant buses. All 12 are specified in the contract. Customer A determines the number of staff seats and location for each bus. When the buses are not being used, they are kept at the customer A's office and cannot be retrieved by the company B unless the customer A fails on payment. Customer A can use buses for other purpose. If a bus needs to be serviced or repaired, a company B is obligated to provide a temporary replacement bus for the same type. So let's break down this contract to identify whether we do have the lease contract or not. So first thing, that the customer A has entered into the 10 years. This means the lease terms over 10 years with the company B, under with the company B. A company B is a supplier of the identified assets. 12 supplies the customer A with 12 minibuses. Minibuses here are the underlying assets. So we do have the lease term and underlying asset. For the purpose of the staff transport, the company B owns the relevant buses because all these relevant identified asset is mentioned in the contract. So the customer A determines the number of staff. It means the company A has the right to determine how to use and for what purpose to use. When the buses are not being used, they are kept at the customer A's office. It means the underlying asset should not be moved from the location of the customer A, leasee. You can thought for a while if this contract contains a lease. So here my conclusion. This contract does contain a lease. Yes, this is a lease contract. Because of what? Because there is an identified asset, 12 minibuses, is stated in the contract or mentioned in the contract. The company or the customer A have the right to use the bus for the period of the contract and have the right to direct and control for what purpose is used the underlying asset. And the company B does not have the right to replace any of the bus unless they are being serviced. If there is service, okay, therefore company A would need to recognize right of use assets and liabilities in the statement of financial position. From this contract, we could decide that this is a lease contract and the company A should recognize the right of use an asset and lease liability in its financial statements. So let us see another examples where in the same situation. Is it a lease? A company C has entered into a 5 years contract with a company D, under with company D supplies the company C with a warehouse for the purpose of keeping goods. The warehouse is located at the company D's premises or office, and the company D determines how and where the goods of company D should be kept. So imagine if this contract contains lease contract, we do have the lease term is 5 years, and we do have the underlying asset is a warehouse. But what about the other conditions or other terms that should be of? Does the customer or the company C have the right to control the asset? Does the company C have the right to determine where and for what purpose is going to use the asset? Does the company C has the identified asset in its location? So let's see my conclusion here. This contract does not contain a lease because the underlying asset, which is the warehouse, is located in the company D, who is the supplier, located at the company D's office or premises, who is supplier of the underlying asset. A company C have no right to direct the asset how to be used, because here it mentions that the warehouse is located at company D's premises, and he said the company D, who the supplier, determines or put the rules or limits how and where the goods of the company D should be kept. So this is the company C. The company D determines how and where the goods of the company C should be kept. This is the company C. I think this is company C. So a company C have no right to direct the asset how to be used,